It's been almost a year since Myanmar's new government took power. One of the country's most pressing needs is to inspire a new generation to proceed with democratic reforms after a long period under military rule. Changes are being made to the education system, including revising school textbooks. But many educators navigating this landscape do not have experience with the newer methods and are teaching by trial and error. In today's Focus, we'll look at education reform in Myanmar.
Joining us now is NHK senior commentator Aiko Doden. She's been covering Myanmar for over 15 years, and you just got back from Myanmar.
That's right,
I'm
yes.
very eager to learn what you saw.
Thank you.
So first, what is the goal of the educational reforms?
Well, in essence, the reforms aim to transform schools into places where students have free and democratic discussions, something that was discouraged under the over half-century military rule. International donors and expert organizations are also coming on board to help change the system. And recently, a delegation of teachers and officials from Myanmar were in Japan.
So I'm curious, why did they choose this country?
Well, in Myanmar, Japan is known as a country in Asia that transitioned from being under strong military influence to being a developed democracy, and one with a highly educated population following World War II. The delegation came to take a close look at Japan's elementary schools. 14 education officials from Myanmar came to Japan with support from the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The officials are responsible for curriculum reform, including revising textbooks. That process started after the country shifted to civilian rule in 2011. Min Swe, the chairperson of the National Curriculum Committee, led the delegation.
In Myanmar, classrooms are centered around the teacher. But in Japan and other countries, children solve problems by themselves with assistance from the teacher. In a way, that deepens their knowledge. We want to take a student-centered approach in our country too.
Until recently, students in Myanmar were mainly taught to memorize and repeat lessons. Even the library is usually locked and cannot be used freely. Students are often discouraged from taking an interest in specific topics and from doing their own research. But to promote democracy, the officials say students need to learn to think on their own, have free discussions, and to work on problem solving. So now they are shifting away from rote memorization and instead emphasizing critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Members of the education reform team visited a Japanese school. Among them is Nyo, who also teaches at the University of Mandalay. She said she had doubts about the teacher-centered system, but that's all she knew. She's eager to find out how things are done in Japan.
In Myanmar, sometimes it occurs like this. Even if a lesson has wonderful content, it might be difficult for children to understand. I want to see how the teacher urges the children to think on their own.
This is a fourth grade class. The students are discussing the value of life. The officials pay close attention to the students' answers. The teacher divides the students into groups, allowing them to express their opinions with ease. The aim of the questions is to help them understand the value of being alive. Then the teacher has the children write down what they can do to value life, in order to think more deeply about the topic. Nyonyo says that in Myanmar, it has not been possible for the students to express their opinions freely and spontaneously like this.
I am so impressed that the children in Japan can voice their opinions openly without being afraid. That's still difficult for children in Myanmar.
After the classroom visit, there was a Q&A session. The officials asked a lot of questions, especially about how to get children to be inquisitive and to speak their minds.
How do you encourage children to express their opinions?
I think it's important to always create opportunities for them to explain or question things in class.
I want to know how to learn about each student's abilities and how to evaluate them.
We must look at each student carefully. Tests of thinking ability are helpful too. These are the primary methods of evaluation.
For the future of a nation that's in the process of democracy, children need to be able to understand and develop ideas on their own. They shouldn't only be bound to the past or to the government.
Aiko, the pictures of the library were shocking.
And quite painful too. During the military regime, raising questions or even critical thinking itself was categorically discouraged. Authorities fear that the libraries would quickly turn into sort of secret meeting places for political activists.
Right. So what is the current state of education in schools in the country?
Well, in Burmese, the word to study is satande, which roughly means to memorize. So this gives an idea of Myanmar's learning style, which has produced a high literacy rate of over 95% according to UNESCO. But it has not quite translated into strong critical thinking skills. So you can see that education needs changes beyond textbooks. It's a process that takes time because it is the mindset that needs to change accordingly as well.
So this time when you were in Myanmar, did you notice any positive changes or efforts?
Yes, I did actually. I recall how children's faces literally lit up when a mobile library arrived. You know, the van is full of books and comes to the school every 2 weeks. And see, they all gather, and it's not an ice cream van. The service was provided by the Do Kinchi Foundation, founded by Aung San Suu Kyi, and it uses funds and donations from Myanmar and abroad. The van carries about 1,000 books. Now, it arrived during lunchtime, but none of the children seemed to care about their food. Now, you could see that their main appetite was for learning.
Yes, it's quite amazing and kind of inspiring.
Yes.
Right? But I am assuming that it must be difficult for teachers who've been doing this kind of teaching for years. Are they having a hard time adapting to changes?
I think so, because their mindset need to change too. The teachers and officials in their 40s and 50s grew up under military rule, and so these ideas are new to those teachers as well. That's partly why the textbook revisions are getting help from organizations like Japan's International Cooperation Agency, Asian Development Bank and UNICEF. Now, their contributions have paid off, and officials hope to have new textbooks in first grade classrooms in June when the next academic year starts. And next month in March will mark a year since the National League for Democracy government was sworn in. The de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been stressing that education is the pillar of the country which must be reformed. Transforming the schooling system may take significant time and effort, but empowering children through education is key to inclusive and sustainable development of Myanmar.
Thank you so much, Aiko.
Thank you.